Uh-oh.
Okay, we'll start with this. Another look at the upcoming Dixon versus Terry Harper fight as Rhiannon is set to defend her WBO lightweight title for the first time.
Rhiannon Dixon makes the first defense of her WBO lightweight title against Terry Harper on the undercard of Jack Catterall Regis Pub Race in Manchester on the 24th of August. Dixon, 29, earned the vacant title when she outpointed Karen Elizabeth Carabajal on the undercard of Zelfa Barrett's victory over Jordan Gill at the AO Arena in the same city in April. The 27-year-old Harper lost to Sandy Ryan in a WBO junior middleweight title fight in March.
Now she's fighting Rhiannon in an attempt to become a 3-division champion and try to take the belt that Rhiannon just won in her last fight. I'm really excited about the fight at the Co-op Live in Manchester on August 24th, Dixon said. I respect what Terry has achieved in boxing, and I expect the best version of her. However, I continue to get better and better, and I am extremely confident in my ability to win on August 24th. I always enjoy a fight week and fight night in Manchester, said Harper ahead of the Matchroom promotion. There's always a good buzz being in the city. I'm super excited to perform in the new Co-op Live Arena on such a brilliant card. Rhiannon Dixon is someone who I have a lot of respect for. She is very respectful, and there is no horrible ego with her.
Wonder who she had in mind.
Egos, horrible egos. Is she talking about Natasha Jonas? Is she talking about Alicia Baumgartner?
She's talking about somebody.
Rhiannon is just a genuinely nice girl. I feel very fortunate to be given such a great opportunity, and I feel like this fight is all or nothing for me. Becoming a 3-weight world champion, complementing titles at Super Feather and Junior Middle would be a dream, but the most important thing for me now is to get a solid win under my belt and get back on top.
Brass tacks.
Terry may like Rhiannon Dixon and lavish praise upon her that she's a genuinely nice girl that isn't a narcissist or an egomaniac, but at the end of the day, she's there to take what Rhiannon has got.
Rhiannon's got to stop her from doing that, but how does she do it?
What are her strengths? Her keys to victory? Because Terry ain't there for no reason. She's not here for hugs and handshakes and praise.
She's here to beat you and take your belt.
The story of Rhiannon Dixon is not that dissimilar from the story of Terry Harper. Neither one of these two fighters come from some deep amateur background. I didn't even realize that Rhiannon is 1 or 2 years older than Terry, but Terry is more experienced as a professional.
A lot more experienced.
Historically, a bigger puncher than Rhiannon Dixon. That punch for punch, Terry seems like she's the stronger fighter, the stronger puncher of the two, little taller, little longer.
She's an orthodox fighter. Rhiannon Dixon is a southpaw.
It's funny that even though Terry Harper is 1 or 2 years younger than Rhiannon, she's more weathered, more seasoned than Rhiannon. That's what Rhiannon has to use to her advantage. That Terry's coming right off a loss to Sandy Ryan at 147. Now she's dropping down to 135. Physically, that could take a toll on Terry.
Rhiannon has to fight like it.
How does she do it? Where does she do it?
Mid-range to inside, in the pocket. I think Rhiannon Dixon is a bit better in the pocket and faster in the exchange than Terry Harper. Terry's best punches are her straight punches when she has room to throw them, whereas Rhiannon
looks like her best punches are her bent arm punches, her hooks, her combinations, mid-range to inside within close quarters. I noticed that she's a more herky-jerky fighter, fidgety fighter, twitchier than Terry Harper.
That coupled with her speed, that she's faster on her feet with faster hands.
She can win the fight mid-range to inside. In the pocket because I feel that she's faster and better there than Terry Harper is, and she can push Terry back.
Remember that Terry's coming off a loss. Remember that she got banged up in her last fight. And remember, she's dropping down in weight for this one. That could take a toll on her physically, her physicality, that you land a couple of hard shots.
Few hard punches, Terry might not hold up so good. She might not wear those punches very well because she'll be physically depleted.
Rhiannon cannot afford to get starstruck or shrink in the moment or give Terry too much respect in the ring. You're going to have to use what you've got, or Terry's going to take what you've got.
You have to let your fucking hands go.
She has to. That if what she has working for her is speed, combinations, and just overall twitchiness, suddenness, she has to use it round by round. And that best services her in the pocket.
This is a big fight for Rhiannon, and even though Terry's coming off a loss, it is still a step up in class. That Terry is a better fighter than any fighter Rhiannon has fought so far.
So she is catching her at a very opportune time, so she has to grab that opportunity with both hands and create separation, because this is a tough fight to edge.
We'll talk more about it as the fight date approaches.
Elsewhere in the world of boxing, per a tweet from veteran boxing scribe Lance Pugmire, in a follow-up text, Mauricio Sulaiman tells me, I get every day this question about Benavidez and Canelo. Everybody wants to see that fight. We have to go by the situation of the promoters and the fighters and not break the rules. We're just trying to make sure it happens down the line. But how are you actually doing that? He said that there's no deadline, there's no drop-dead date for them to do anything, so then why is David paying you? Why is he paying you sanctioning fees? The whole point behind the ranks, climbing up those ranks, fighting in eliminators, and paying sanctioning fees, interim status, all of it, is the opportunity to at some point fight for the full version of the title. If you're going to sit on your hands and you're not going to do anything, then David might as well not pay you. He may as well go another route that you don't need to be involved because you're not going to do your job.
In a very general sense, whenever I see fighters going the WBC route for what is supposed to be their chance to fight for a title, it seems like an exercise in futility. Carlos Adames went the WBC route to try to land a Jermall Charlo fight. And in the end, he never got it.
He got the belt because Jermall Charlo got himself arrested again, so he got the belt, but he never got the fight. And getting the belt in the absence of the fight is not the same thing. For a fighter, you want the opportunity to not just get a belt, but get out there on a big stage and show people that you're better than the champion. You're better than the other guy. Now, Carlos never actually got that.
He's happy with his belt, though.
I don't think they're going to do that for David. Strip Canelo to elevate David. That's not happening. That's why they didn't give a concrete date as to when they would strip Canelo. They have no intention to. Ever since they tried to impose deadlines on him years ago, for what eventually became the Gennady-Golovkin fight. When they tried to force it, Canelo told them, you can take your belt and you can stuff it. You don't rule me.
They've been playing nice ever since. They've been kissing his ass and licking his boots, and they are not going to strip Canelo to give the belt to David.
Do you want them to?
No, I'm just telling you that they're not going to. This is what I've been telling you, that going this route, this course of action, is an exercise in futility for David, and he seems to be wasting a lot of time on a fight he says Canelo doesn't want. Well, if Canelo doesn't want it, and the WBC aren't going to help you, what are you doing?
Why go back to 168 then? You're just wasting your own time. My opinion on the fight, the actual fight, hasn't changed. I have Canelo beating David. David is too simple, too basic, and he knows that. That's why he doesn't want to stay at 175.
Your size advantage is what has allowed you to win fights at 168, but you ain't got that much size on the guys at 175. So you don't want to stay there. You go back to 168, you do what you were doing before, even if it means wasting your own time.
That's what you're doing. I would like to see Canelo Alvarez fight this very basic and ordinary fighter in his very next fight. But rumor has it, he's going to fight Edgar Berlanga. And for that, well, the WBC's not going to strip him.
I know.
So what does David do while he waits? Who does he fight in the mean-in-between time? Does he fight? Because you know what he might do? He might sit out the rest of this year. I remember the year that he fought David Lemieux. that was the only fight that he had that entire year. This Vajdik fight that he just had, that might be his only fight this year.
That guy is not going to put his body through the rigors of another camp to make 168 for just anybody. He's only going to do it, I think. He's only going to do it if it's for Canelo.
So you're not staying at 175, but you're not going to kill yourself for just anybody making 168. It sounds like you're going to take the rest of the year off. Finally, in men's heavyweight news, ahead of this weekend's heavyweight showdown, Johnny Fisher is freed by expectation of Alen Babic.
Johnny Fisher has proven that he can punch.
He can.
He has also demonstrated a willingness to learn and the all-important ability of shifting a good number of tickets. On Saturday, we may just learn whether or not the heavyweight prospect can fight. Having eased through the first part of his career, the Southern Area champion steps up a level when he takes on the wild Alen Babic. 12-1, 11 KOs, at the Copper Box Arena in London. Fisher, 11-0, 10 KOs, will be trading with an opponent who possesses the power to hurt him. And he will also be stepping into the ring with someone who genuinely believes that he will win, and who will cling on to that belief until the fight is over. It is conceivable that Fisher makes short work of the Croatian, but if Babic is able to absorb the 25-year-old's power and to keep moving forward, Fisher may just be asked some questions he doesn't yet know the answers to.
I'm expecting a really hard fight, and a grueling 10 rounds, Fisher said during Matchroom's Make the Days Count documentary. Once you sort of resign yourself to thinking that it's gonna be the most painful, horrible experience of your life, it frees you a little bit. You know it's gonna be horrible, so you train as hard as you can. It's exciting more than anything. After all this preparation, you want to put on a show for people.
Boxing wisdom suggests that the way to tame the ultra-aggressive Babic is to draw his sting by frustrating him with straight punches and smart movement before exploiting his technical weaknesses in the later rounds. However, there rarely seems much wisdom involved when Babic fights. The 33-year-old sets such a high pace and commits to his attacks to such an extent that he either leaves his opponents with little choice but to punch with him, or tempted to try and overpower him. Babic was stopped inside a round by Lucas Rosansky at Bridgerweight in April 2023, and is as vulnerable as he is dangerous, but he hits hard, and he has spoken confidently about Fisher being untested and unprepared for a fighter of his nature. Fisher is entering the fight with the same blueprint as each of Babic's opponents, but it seems inevitable that, at some point, those plans will be abandoned.
It's about setting it up in an educated way, he said. Busting him up. That's the plan. I didn't want to be known as a puncher. I just think I am one. I always want to use that power first and foremost, but I have got boxing skills as well. He's a proud man. He won't be coming here to lie down. The way I look at it, he's coming over to take everything that we've built and tear that all down. So I have a lot to lose. The instinctive way that I fight is to look for the knockout. It might not come in the first round. It might come in the 10th round, but I'm always going to be looking for it. That's what people get when they come and watch me. They know they're going to be entertained.
You could say the exact same thing about Alen Babic.
I think that most people look at Alen Babic, and a fighter like him, as being simple to the eye. That he's a brawler through and through. With him, what you see is what you get, and you know what to expect. And that may seem simple enough for the people at home, sitting on their couches. But for the man inside the ring, it's actually not so simple. That Alen Babic is noticeably shorter and stumpier than Johnny Fisher, so that gives him a lower center of gravity, thus better balance.
Theoretically.
As is often the case when the height differential is this dramatic. And a brawler like Alen Babic, you know he's coming to brawl. That means he's gonna take chances.
He's already shorter than Johnny Fisher, so when he comes in at a slight crouch, he's hunkering down, trying to draw Johnny Fisher out and trying to get him to trade.
And the taller, longer fighter, because he's already shorter, he's got to punch down to hit him, which leaves that taller fighter open to looping punches over the top. That's what Alen Babic wants. That's what he did to Steven Robinson in their last fight.
Is he gonna do that to Johnny?
Conservatively, I am going with Johnny Fisher to win the fight, and win the fight by way of knockout. It seems to me that one way or another, whether Alen wins or Johnny wins, it's gonna end in a knockout. But I am going with Johnny. The question is, how does he look up until he gets the knockout? Does he dispatch Alen Babic as easily as Lucas Rosansky did? Because when Lucas did it, it was in the first round. And Lucas was coming off of something like a year or 2 years of inactivity.
Lucas Rosansky, who's older, shorter, stumpier, and stockier than Johnny Fisher. So Johnny should win the fight?
Conventional wisdom suggests that he should, but in the heavyweight division more so than other divisions, there's always room for surprises. The off chance that Alen Babic gets through with a hard shot, a looping shot,
He chin checks Johnny.
and we find out that Johnny can't hold a shot to save his life. We find out that Johnny Fisher has got a glass jaw. So we find that out this Saturday. That's the intrigue. That's why we watch.
To find out.
Johnny Fisher, in his very young pro boxing career, has already amassed a cult following that follows him from place to place buying tickets to attend his fights. So he's on the right track in terms of marquee value, but his ceiling and his ability.
There are 3 cards going down this weekend. The Matchroom Show, the Top Rank Show, and the Golden Boy Show.
In the Matchroom Show, we have Fisher versus Babic in the main event. In the Top Rank Show, we have Stevenson versus Haratunian in the main event. And in the Golden Boy Show, we have Zepeda versus Cabrera in the main event. Of the 3, the main event with the highest probability of ending in a knockout is this one, is Fisher versus Babic.
And this is an acid test.
Some of you may not think of it that way because Alen Babic is a simple fighter. Simple to understand for the viewers at home. Not so simple to deal with if you're under the hot lights and you're in the ring with him.
It's a rite of passage, proving that you can handle the pressure, as that's what a fighter like Alen Babic is going to apply. He's going to apply pressure, and you have to prove that you can handle the pressure and deliver. On a deadline. Not everybody can.
Stranger things have happened than a matchroom fighter, a matchroom prospect, an unbeaten one, getting beat. I remember when David Evanesian beat then unbeaten Josh Kelly. I remember when Julissa Guzman beat then unbeaten Ramla Ali.
She got starched.
More recently, unbeaten Emma Doolin beat unbeaten Shannon Ryan. So it's entirely possible that Johnny could get beat.
If he's not careful, if he can't handle the pressure, or he can't hold a shot. That's what fights like this are intended to reveal. What are you made of? What are you really made of? Because if you can't handle a guy like this, you don't make it to world level. Stay on your toes, Johnny. Because this is a fight that could end at any minute. It could end as early as the first round or sometime into the later rounds. But I am going conservative. I'm going with Johnny Fisher to win the fight and win the fight by way of knockout, walking Alen Babic into a hard shot. That's what I think is going to happen. It's just a question of when. Does it happen in the first round, the first half of the fight, or later on? And up until it happens, how does Johnny look? What's his defense like? His engine?
His power. Does he carry his power into the later rounds?
Or does he get overpowered by the persistent, albeit smaller man? Because Alen is noticeably smaller.
I'm going with Johnny. Look for Johnny Fisher versus Alen Babic this Saturday on DAZN.